Guys, so welcome to Napoli Talk. Today we have a very special guest, Alan from Football Espana. We'll be covering all there is to know about Barcelona before this huge Barca Napoli game. Alan, welcome to Napoli Talk. It's a pleasure to have you here. Tell the fans what it is that you do and why you're here today.
Hey Dominico, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. So yeah, basically I'm the editor of Football Espana and a football writer based in Seville in the south of Spain. And I cover all things Spanish football and European football too, of course, is of keen interest to me. So I'm very excited for the forthcoming Champions League and Europa League games. And I think that, in the Europa League, at least Barca Napoli is the pick of the round because with two huge historic clubs, both obviously had Diego Maradona played for them at various points in his career, consecutively, I guess. And as well as being two football clubs that are huge and important for European history, they're also two cities that are very much football cities, in my opinion, in different ways, of course, but equally passionate. So, yeah, really looking forward to this tie. Really looking forward to talking to you about it. And yeah, just very excited for this part of the season to begin in general when are decided.
Yeah, it's really I think, the time between February and April is where everything gets decided. You've got a lot of chances to still recover, and we're seeing that with various clubs in Europe. Barcelona didn't start too well, and now they find themselves fourth in La Liga. Juventus as well in Italy, they didn't start too well. They find themselves fourth in Italy. So, teams now are in the point of the season where if they can get these 2 months right, it could really make their season, no matter how bad they started. Obviously, I don't think Barcelona is in contention for the title this year in Spain. I think Real Madrid are running away with that. But the teams between third and sixth in Spain are all right there within a few points of each other. So before we actually get talking about Barcelona Napoli, tell me what you think Barcelona could end up doing this season. Do you think that they'll finish fourth, or are you seeing other teams that are have a higher chance of finishing ahead of Barcelona, because that will directly influence how much importance they give to this Europa League game.
Yeah, I think, well, you mentioned that Barca have no chance for the title, but Joan Laporta, the president, doesn't think that because on Sunday morning he was talking at a board dinner and he said that they'll never rule out a bid for the title, basically. They still believe they can do it. They believe that Madrid are infallible. The Madrid are fallible, Sevilla are fallible, and there's no other team in La Liga that's, in a perfect moment, you could say. Everybody has their weaknesses and everybody's had their bad moments. And for him, he's not running out of bid of the title at all. He thinks that there's still a chance they could win it. Now, how realistic that is, I don't know. I don't think personally they will be able to win it. I think, like you said, Madrid will win it, although I think Sevilla will push them quite close.
Hmm.
But for Barcelona, I would say that their ambitions this season are top four. 100% is finishing the Champions League next season is absolutely paramount to them. This season was always going to be a bit of a season of transition because of the nature of the coaching changes, Lionel Messi leaving, the financial constraints that inhibited their ability to spend in the summer. It was always going to be a difficult season. Maybe that it's been more difficult than I thought it would have been.
Hmm.
Although I mentioned they are improving a bit recently. But top four is definitely their priority. Will they get it? I think they will. I think they will. I think they're better than Atletico Madrid. I think they're in a better moment than Atletico Madrid. They're in the midst of a project that's more convincing than Atletico Madrid because it almost feels like they're coming to the end of a cycle, whereas Barcelona are beginning a new one. And
Hmm.
Xavi obviously has huge credit in the bank because of his achievements as a player, his philosophical association with the club as well. So as things stand, I think they will finish top four. Although, as you mentioned, Villarreal are looking quite strong. Real Sociedad are looking quite strong. Real Betis are having a phenomenal season.
Yeah,
So I would guess at the moment, I would say the top four will be as it is right now. Madrid top, Sevilla second, Betis third, and Barcelona fourth, or
that would
even
be
maybe
huge for Sevilla as a city to have the two teams both go to the Champions League.
absolutely, it'd be incredible because for the majority of the season now it feels like the top three has had two Seville teams in it, which is phenomenal. And they live football very differently down here, and they're really appreciating every moment of it. So yeah, it would be incredible. But Barca are Barca. I was at Camp Nou last Sunday for Barca Atletico, and it still carries that gravita. And the new signings they made are quite intelligent. The team are beginning to show signs that they're on the road to recovery, and beginning to play the Xavi way. So they're strong. They're strong, and I think they will get top four
Yeah,
to make it
there's a lot of
line up.
enthusiasm with this Barcelona team now, for sure. It started off with, Xavi coming in even before they kicked off. There was a renewed sense of joy at Barcelona with Xavi coming back and Koeman leaving. As you said, he's brought in a lot of interesting players, especially attacking players. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the signings. We've got Aubameyang, Adama Traore, Ferran Torres. Which one of these three do you think could pose the most threat to Napoli? Because obviously Dani Alves is not going to be playing against Napoli. He's not included in the list. So who do you think is going to start that game against Napoli? You've got options, or Barcelona's got options in attack.
Well, so far Xavi's been favouring a kind of a 4-3-3 with Adama on the right, Gavi on the left, and Ferran through the middle. He's easing back Aubameyang because Aubameyang hasn't played a full match since December 6th against Everton.
Mm.
He came on against Atletico. He came on last night against Espanyol, but he's not fully fit. He's not in match dynamics, if that makes sense. So I think it'll be a while till he's starting matches because of the options that Xavi has available to him at the moment. I mean, Gavi is in phenomenal form. Adama is hit the ground running. He did have the best of games last night, but he did provide an assist, and he is playing a very interesting way. He
Mm.
offers something that Barcelona don't have. He goes past players. He puts in crosses, and it's long been derided that he doesn't have an end product, but so far he's contributed 2 assists in 2 games. So I think he's
Yeah.
already got the monkey off his back. And I think that his physicality is better suited to European football and Spanish football than it is to English football, because in English football it's more kind of taken for granted that players are stronger, whereas in the continent especially, I think it poses more of a competitive advantage for him and for Barcelona. And Ferran seems to be the prioritized centre forward at the moment. Whether he's genuinely a centre forward, I don't know. I think he can be equally effective playing on either flank. But I guess for Luis Enrique's Spanish national team and for Barcelona, he's played in the middle so far, and he's capable of doing that job.
Why is it that actually you think that he might start with Ferran Torres if we saw that Luke De Jong, came in the last few minutes of the game, scored a goal, the guy that's saving Barcelona in recent times, they're calling him Goat De Jong and all that sort of stuff. Why don't you think that he could start a Europa League game?
Well, he could, but I don't think he will. I think that Luke is the kind of player who is like break glass in case of emergency. Do you know?
Mm.
Like he didn't get onto the pitch against Atletico because they were winning the game. He only came on last night because they had no other option. And when Barca are failing to break down a team like they were last night, it's a viable option to have Adama get behind the last defender, cross, and Luke de Jong heads, because in the air he is very good. But I think it's very much a plan B situation. And I
Mm.
think if you look at the centre forwards Xavi has available to him in list of priority, I would say it's Ferran number one, Auba number two, and Luke number three. So it's possible he could play because again, we don't know how much importance Barca are going to give to the Europa League. I mean, obviously they want to win it. They want to, show that they can still compete in Europe. And it would be very embarrassing if they were to suffer an ignominious exit in the competition, especially this stage of the competition. But having said that, Xavi might see it as a good opportunity to rest players because at the moment, for the game against Valencia next weekend, for instance, he only has one centre back available to him, first choice centre back, because Samuel Tidi is injured, Clement Longley is injured, Gerard Piqué is suspended after his red card last night.
Yeah.
Eric Garcia is the only available option. Ronald Araujo was also injured. So Barca do have a squad that can be exposed if there's injuries. So maybe he will rotate for the Europa League. But I think all things being well, going full strength, Luke is the third choice option. He's the break glass in case of emergency player.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, we have Andrea Petagna on our side like that. He's that guy, the tower that you put in the last 10 minutes to try to win a header, try to hold the ball. So there's some similarities over there. But it's interesting that you say that perhaps he might not give this game as much importance, because actually I feel like because fourth spot is not for granted, the Europa League is a way to, if you win it, it's a way to get into the Champions League in case he fails in the league. So, I think there's not that many teams that you could say are better than Barcelona in the Europa League. You could say that Dortmund, Napoli, Barcelona, and Sevilla are the four best teams. So, if they give importance to this game, they knock out one of the four favorites of the competition, and then it allows them to really have a shot of winning the competition down the line and potentially getting into the top four. So I'd actually be surprised if they don't field a very competitive team against Napoli, especially at home, while everything is still up for grabs.
I agree with you. I think they will field a competitive team, because, like you said, I think that if Barca were to claim silverware this season and they are the Copa del Rey, they are the Super Copa de España, they're not really going to win La Liga. It would be a miracle if they did. Whereas the Europa League, a European trophy, is a real way of kind of, consolidating the progress that Xavi has made this season. I think he will take it seriously. But at the same time, Barcelona are a club with a very high opinion of themselves,
Yeah.
and they've Europa Leagues beneath them. They're only playing Thursday night football, and they're embarrassed by the way Madrid and their detractors in Spain are laughing at them for having the Europa League anthem played in Camp Nou. That's just the way they perceive themselves. So that I was just answering it regarding the De Jong question. I wouldn't be surprised if he made a couple of interesting selections like that, but I think he'll take it seriously because, like I said, as well as it being a good thing if they win it, it would be very embarrassing if they didn't, if they got knocked out of it, early doors in an embarrassing fashion. So, especially given the way they performed in Europe this season, I think they will give it an importance, and I think they should give it importance because, in my opinion, winning breeds winning, and I think it's better to be playing twice a week and winning both games than losing one on purpose or not trying in one on purpose to save yourself for the weekend. I think it's much better to have winning dynamics in the team. And I think Xavi appreciates that. I think that Xavi wants his team and his players to be competitive in every moment of every game. And I don't think he'll rest in his laurels as well.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, the fact that obviously if Barcelona were to be knocked out at this point in time, they would become a bit of a laughing stock in Spain for having lost at this point in the competition, the Europa League. On the other hand, they are facing a very competitive Napoli this year, who are sitting third in Serie A. They were second up until the draw against Inter league leaders. They were beating Inter up until halftime, and if that were to be the case, then Napoli would be top of Serie A at this point in time. So they're not facing your typical Europa League team. Where you're facing a team, or Barcelona's facing a team that would, in normal circumstances, for what they've shown this year, they could easily be Champions League level. So, what is the perception of Napoli in Spain this year? What do Barcelona fans think the outcome of this game could be? I know that when the game was announced back in December, there was a lot of sentiment that Napoli was the better team at that point in time. Now Barcelona have found more enthusiasm. They have more signings. Maybe that's shifted slightly, that opinion of what this game could hold for Barcelona. But coming into this game this week in this moment in time, what's the opinion? What's the odds in people's minds in Spain?
I think people give Napoli a lot of respect. I think Napoli, we were talking a bit before we started recording. In my opinion, Napoli are one of the most interesting football clubs in European football, one of the most interesting cities in European football as well. And I think that, given their achievements in the 1980s in particular, they've earned a lot of respect and a lot of gravitas because of the mythical achievements that Diego Maradona achieved with them, of course, and the kind of the emotional attachment that's people hold to that team and that era of Italian football as well as Neapolitan football. So there is definite respect there. And people are very aware that Napoli will pose a very stiff challenge to Barcelona. Because as well as a strong club and a powerful club, they're also a strong team, as you mentioned. So I think it's one of respect. I think people really like this tie. I think it's a very sexy tie. Barca Napoli, the home leg in Camp Nou, away leg in the Stadio, and now called Diego Armando Maradona, of course. It's a very, very interesting tie, I think, and I think people are really looking forward to it. And I think that, yeah, people treat Napoli with the utmost respect. I think they're a Champions League club, not a Europa League club. So I think that people are viewing this as a tie that maybe Barcelona are a bit unlucky with in some respect because they could have got somebody like, I don't know, Dynamo Zagreb like Sevilla or Zenit St. Petersburg like Betis. But instead they've gotten a Champions League club. So I think in one regard it's bad because it's a difficult challenge, but in the other regard it's good because it feels like a Champions League game.
Yeah.
And it will lend more gravitas to the occasion as opposed to them playing a Croatian team or a Russian team. I think playing an Italian heavyweight who are in a good moment in Serie A, who are unlucky to be in the Europa League, would actually be a benefit to them in the long run, even though paradoxically it's a more difficult game.
Yeah, I feel the same way regarding Napoli. I think if you go and play against a lower level team, you actually risk losing that game more because you go there underestimating them with less enthusiasm. But as you said, Barca Napoli, huge game. I think all 22 players will give it their everything on the field. It's very interesting how this time it's Barca Napoli and then Napoli Barca. 2 years ago in the Champions League, it was first leg Napoli Barca, then Barca Napoli. And in the first leg, Napoli played really well, got a draw out of that game, but then we went to the Camp Nou and showed Barca too much respect. This was the Barca that 2 weeks later would lose 8-2 against Bayern Munich, or a few weeks later would lose 8-2 against Bayern Munich. But and as Napoli fans, we saw that Bayern game and thought, yeah, we definitely showed Barca way too much respect in the Camp Nou. We've got the same group of players pretty much, with maybe Osimhen being really the only new guy in this team that's there. Okay, Anguissa and all that, but the core of the team is pretty much that. And it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to show Barcelona that same level of respect going to the Camp Nou, or if they're going to take the game to them. Because at home we took the game to Barcelona, and then we went to the Camp Nou and we sat back and we're timid. But I do hope that Napoli go there on the front foot, and it would make a cracking game, especially both teams are attacking, lots of goals. Then it would be an even more cracking game on the second leg. So yeah, I have high hopes for this game. And on our side, I mean, we see Barcelona as a bit of this is the best time to face them historically. Obviously, if you consider the last 20 years, Barcelona have been one of the most successful clubs. On paper, you would lose 9 times out of 10 over the last 20 years if you were to play them. We see this as an opportunity of we can get a really good historic result. Obviously, we're not saying that it's guaranteed in any way, but we definitely view this as a 50-50. And if you think, 5, 6 years ago, there was no way this would be a 50-50. It would be an 80-20 for Barca. So we're super excited about this game. And for us, again, the Europa League, we would like to be playing in the Champions League as Barcelona, but unlike Barcelona, a lot of Napoli fans think, you know what, this is a really good chance to win European silverware. And realistically, we're not going to win a Champions League unless we get a new owner that's going to invest millions and millions and millions in this club. But with the players that we have, we're maybe at most a quarterfinal, if we're lucky, a semi-final Champions League team. We're not really a team that can go and push for a Champions League like Barcelona could once they, solidify uh, their new progress, their new path towards a new Barcelona. I'm sure in 5, 6 years they'll be fighting for Champions League finals again. So for us, this is a really important game because it's like, okay, we're in the Europa League, that kind of sucks, but hey, this is a chance to actually win something. Next year we'll be in the Champions League most likely, and we probably won't win that. So yeah, I think Napoli is going to go there with a really, really strong team. And yeah, it's interesting how Barcelona have these defensive issues at the moment. So you touched on a few injuries that Barcelona have. So I'd like to, just ask, what do you think is their weakness at this point? Is it really their center back, Eric Garcia? Is it maybe Dest playing on the right? Where do you think that a team like Napoli that likes to play fast attacking football, where do you think that they could hurt Barcelona the most?
I think it's a combination of defensive frailty, as you suggested, but also the lack of goals. I mean, like you mentioned, the difference this season to the difference last season and seasons before in how Barcelona are perceived from the outside, and the big difference is Lionel Messi. Because when you have Lionel Messi, and it's easy to be glib about him, like because he's such a everything that's been said about him has been said about him already. But like when you had him on the pitch, there was always a chance of goal no matter how under pressure you were, he could produce something out of nothing. And when you have a player who can do that, it changes the way a team perceives itself because even if they concede, they're not that worried because they know they have somebody in the pitch who can go and do something. And without him, they don't have that. They don't have that man who can change games in an instant, really. And that seeps into the rest of the team and it inhabits their fragility, basically, because that's the biggest weakness for me. It's not their defensive frailty, it's their mental weakness, this Barcelona team. And that's the big thing that Xavi is trying to change. But having said that, their defensive frailty is also definitely an issue. I think that, the fullbacks, say at the moment, it would be Serginho Dest and Jordi Alba. Neither of them are basically defending players; they're attacking players who are fullbacks by position only, not by role really. And I think Dani Alba is actually a better option than Serginho Dest, and he would have registered. He would have been registered if the rules had allowed for it. But the Europa League rules are quite difficult when it comes to new signings, so he wasn't able to. But the centre back situation is definitely an issue. For me, the best player they have there is Ronaldo Araujo. He's strong, he's quick, he's a typical Uruguayan. He's very much of that ilk, and without him, they're a bit meek. Samuel Umtiti is basically a non-event. He's only played 90 minutes this season against Osasuna game. They drew 2-2. Clement Longley is a good player, but he's a strong partner beside him and needs to be in a very strong and cohesive system. Jura Piqué is obviously a world-class defender, but he's on the wrong side of 34, I think he is at this point. He's nearing the end of his career. And then Eric Garcia is fallible, to be honest. I mean, he's a ball player, but he's very, very fallible. And he was directly at fault for Espanyol's second goal last night.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's a player who's playing with a lot of confidence at the moment. So it's a big issue. And also Marc-Andre ter Stegen, who has been a very good goalkeeper for a good few years for Barcelona, is having a very, very poor season this year and last. He's been a shadow of his former self, making errors when he normally wouldn't have. So they're weak defensively, and then even in the midfield, you Sergio Busquets, who's also getting on. He's giving the ball away more than he used to, and he's suffering from not playing in a cohesive and functional system. And then Frankie de Jong and Pedri are more interiors. They aren't defensive players really. They go forward as opposed to coming back.
And Frankie's
So
not having the same season that he had in previous years. He's kind of dipped in form. Okay, now he's a little bit recovering in the past few weeks, but this season he hasn't been the Frankie de Jong that we all came to know in the last few years.
I think he could leave, to be honest. I think he could go in the summer, just because I really like Frankie. I think he's a really good player, really interesting person. He can speak Spanish perfectly already. But he's probably the most saleable asset Barca have, and he's not been performing well. He had a period last season where he was decisive because Koeman played him in a position that got the best out of him. But he's not been able to replicate the form that earned him the move in the first place. And like I said, he's probably the most saleable asset Barca have. So I think that it could be very possible that Barca sell him in the summer to try and raise the funds to sign Erling Haaland, too, is their great desire. Because they have Gavi, they have Pedri, they have Nico Gonzalez, they have Sergio Busquets. There's talk that Frank Kessie, of course, who's playing in Italy right now for Milan, could come in as a free agent and be that kind of long-term successor to Busquets, the base midfield, which would leave a bit of an empty space for Frankie. And even at the moment, I mean, when you're picking Barca's first choice midfield, if everybody's available, Frankie doesn't always start because Gavi is in such good form at the moment. He's playing on the left at the moment because of injuries. But if everybody was fully fit, I think that Xavi would pick a first choice midfield that would be Busquets, Pedri, and Gavi. So while I really like Frankie, I think he could be made as kind of a sacrificial lamb this summer because he's also very much tied in with Bartomeu. He was a Bartomeu signing, who was the previous president, much like Antoine Griezmann. So yeah, I think he could be going in the summer, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that could. He's got 4 years, I think, still left in his contract. So it'll be interesting if he decides to leave. But I can definitely see that happening. Obviously, he was very close to Koeman as well, both being Dutch, and now that he's left, you wonder also whether Depay might also leave. Whether both the Dutch players might leave. Depay might actually be available for the Napoli game. It seems. I'm not sure if he'll start or play any minutes, but seems that he'll be coming back from injury. But it's crazy what you said about Barcelona's midfield. I mean, when you talk about a midfield for one of the biggest clubs in the world, having Gavi and Pedri, 17 and 19 years old, you just think, they're sorted in that area for the next 10 years, and they could really build off those two players. And, if they can, recover players like Ansu Fati and all that, they have a really, really talented team. And yeah, but that's all from midfield going forward. Then in defense, especially this week, they've really got a problem because if you look at Eric Garcia, how he allowed Espanyol to score that goal over the weekend. And if you consider Piqué, as you said, getting older, the two fullbacks, they're not really defensively minded. I think Napoli could really exploit that. We've got Victor Osimhen, one of the fastest players in Europe. as a striker, and we have people like Fabian Ruiz that can ping a nice ball to him over the top, very similar to what Espanyol did against Barcelona, then us Napoli fans, we see that as a real weakness and something that we could exploit. And I'd be surprised if they keep playing a very high line against us, because again, I think Napoli's speed could really hurt them, and I think Barcelona, if they want to not concede a very crucial away goal, they might have to adjust the style that they play. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game in that regards. But having said that, Napoli has weaknesses of their own in defense. We have our left back, Mauro Rui. He's got a lot of character, but he's small. And the matchup against Adama Traore on the right is going to be. I'm worried about that, to be honest. Adama Traore, right? You talked about him, how he brings something new to Barcelona, maybe not something that people in Spain have seen very often. Do you think that Adama Traore is like a long-term thing for Barcelona? Do you think that he fits the style that Barcelona want to play? You talked about maybe Kessie coming in, like basically, are Barcelona trying to put more muscle into this team? Or because it doesn't really resemble the team that, for example, Xavi used to play in, where they were all very skillful players, but not a lot of physicality. So is this the new direction that Barca want to go in, put more physicality on the field?
Good question. I think that it's difficult to compare because I think football has changed so much since in the last decade even. I mean, if you watch Bayern Munich's games against Barca this season in the Champions League, which was a non-contest, both games, like it was evident that not only are Barca technically inferior to Bayern, but they're also so physically inferior. Like Bayern are faster, stronger, quicker than them in every aspect, as well as being technically better than them. And if you look at the likes of, even Pep Guardiola and the way he's adapted his style since leaving Barca with Manchester City and Bayern Munich, it's very much a kind of a blend of physicality and technical quality, as well as just technical quality. Because at the end of the day, like that was a freakish generation Barcelona had, players like Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, playing in the same team together, Lionel Messi as well, of course. It's very, very difficult to replicate that because there's no guarantee that players of that quality will emerge again. And even though Pedri and Gavi are very, very talented, it's very difficult to be the best of the best, which is what Barca aspire to be with players of that profile. I think that technical quality is always the most important thing for Barca, but I think that given where they are at this moment in their project, it's valuable to have players who can offer different things for the team going forward, And I think that Adam is very smart because he's also a La Masia product. He left Barca in 2015 for Aston Villa, and he's born and raised in the shadow of Camp Nou in Las Balitat. So he knows the system. He knows how to play that football. He knows how to play associatively.
Yeah.
And that's really the thing that's key for Barca.
Yeah, he's not just muscle coming in out of context. He knows how to apply that particular strength that he has into the style that Barcelona like, and he knows what the people around him want him to do. So yeah, I think it's a great acquisition by Barcelona, and congrats, like credit to Adama Traore. He accepted a very reduced salary compared to what other clubs were offering him just to play back in his boyhood club. So that's something that a few players at Napoli could should learn. Obviously, we have Insigne that's leaving for Toronto for a big bag of money at the end of the season. But apart from that, no, it's very interesting. We've got a very weak team physically. All our players are very technical. We've only got Koulibaly, and our center backs are pretty physical, Koulibaly and Rahmani. And we've got Anguissa, who is probably going to play in center midfield as the three physical players. Everyone else is a bit weak. So I am worried about how Adama Traore might affect the game in that regard. If there was one player from Napoli that you would take and put into this Barcelona team, who would it be? Insigne.
100%, yeah. I really like him. I'm also gutted that he's going to the MLS. I think it's a travesty, an absolute travesty. But I think he's been linked to Barca in the past as well. I think he would do really well at Barca because I
I
think
think
that
it
he
would,
brings
yeah.
a speed and a an ability to shoot. Like I remember his goals in the Euro 2020. Cutting inside and the left and shooting. I think he really would bring a lot to Barca. I think obviously it's sacrilege to compare any player to Lionel Messi, but he's quite similar to Lionel Messi in terms of his stature and the way he plays. I think, and like if you look at this Barca team that's going to line up against Napoli, prospectively, you'd have Gavi on the left, and Gavi's a central midfielder. But if you had Insigne on the left, you know, Fati or Ferran through the middle, and Adama on the right. Like that's a very potent front three who cause a lot of problems because you were mentioning that you're worried about how your left back is going to match up against Adama, but I'm worried from a Barca perspective how Eric Garcia and I don't know maybe even Frankie De Jong, he's played the centre back on occasion, how they're going to handle the likes of Osimhen and Insigne and with Fabian Ruiz fizzing those balls through. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting game, and I think that
Yeah.
both sides have quite clear weaknesses, both sides have quite clear strengths. So it's very, very difficult to predict how it's going to go, isn't it? Like,
It's such a good game, I think. What's your prediction for, firstly, how this game will go in terms of scoreline? And then what's your prediction overall between the two legs?
well, I think, it'll be a draw at Camp Nou. I think it'll be a score draw, maybe 1-1 or 2-2, and then I think Barca will win in Naples, but in extra time. In extra
Wow.
time, I think it's going to go the distance. I think there'll be goals scored in both games in terms of both teams scoring both games, but I think the second leg will go to extra time, but not penalties. So that's what I think will happen. I think it'll be an unconvincing performance from Barca. I don't think they'll play cavalier football. I think it'll be a gritty performance from them, but I think they'll just about edge it. What do you think?
I think, hmm, I think we'll definitely see goals in this game. Napoli, for some reason, have conceded a lot in Europe. So we are one of the best defenses in Europe. I think second best defense in Europe in the league, with a crazy amount of clean sheets. But then we go to Europe and we just letting goals left, right, and center against teams like Leicester, Spartak. The whole team just disintegrates defensively in Europe. So I do expect, just statistically, for Barcelona to score one or two goals. I think Napoli as well will score. I think they will take advantage at some point in the game of Barcelona's weakness. I think it will be a 2-1 Barcelona win at the Camp Nou. But then I think at home, I think Napoli, with the support of the crowd, I think they'll overturn that result. So yeah, that's my prediction. I think overall Napoli will go through, but it'll be a win for Barca and a win for Napoli.
Is it full capacity at the moment in Italy?
So at the moment it's 50%, and there's a possibility for it to be 75% by the time that we play against Barcelona. So it's one of those things that's been decided. They're deciding it on the moment. What about in Spain?
Well, in Spain, it's 75% at the moment, but in Catalonia, it's 100% because it's actually Spain is very decentralized. So
Mhm.
each regional government is actually part of an autonomous community. So they each decide basically what to do. And in Catalonia, it's 100%. So at Camp Nou, it'll be a full house. Well, it won't be a full house because Barca are struggling to get attendance this season against Atletico, 75,000, I think. So I'd imagine I think it's a 6:45 kickoff in Spain.
Yeah.
So it can be tricky for work, people leaving work and that kind of thing. I wouldn't expect a big crowd. I would say maybe if they got 50,000, 60,000, it would be a good crowd.
That's still huge. Obviously, we
60,000,
have to consider that the Camp Nou is humongous.
yeah,
So even a
100,000, yeah.
50% at the Camp Nou is 100% in most other stadiums in Europe.
True,
So
true, true.
yeah, no, I had the chance, the fortune to go see a few Barcelona games at the Camp Nou. It's an unreal stadium, and yeah, I mean, even 50% there is a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a huge game. There's other huge games happening this week. What's your standout game this week, including Champions League football, obviously?
Well, I'm going to Sevilla Dynamo Zagreb on Thursday night at Sanchez Pizjuan. So looking forward to that. But the standout game is PSG Real Madrid, 100%. I've covered PSG a lot this season because obviously they have Sergio Ramos, they have Neymar, they have Lionel Messi, they have Kylian Mbappe, who are four players of keen interest to Spanish football observers because
Mhm.
obviously Neymar is ex-Barca, Messi is ex-Barca, Ramos is ex-Madrid, and then you'd expect Mbappe will be Madrid next season. So I've covered them quite closely. And obviously Madrid are, of course, the best team in Spain. So they're representing Spain in the Champions League. I don't think Atletico are going to go very far this season. So it's going to be an incredible game, an incredible tie. I'm looking forward to it tomorrow night. The Parc des Princes should be intriguing. So
Yeah.
that's definitely my game. Even though I'm going to Sevilla, Dynamo Zagreb on Thursday.
Awesome, man. So it's been a pleasure speaking to you about Spanish football, previewing this Barcelona Napoli game, and yeah, have fun in Sevilla watching Sevilla, which is the place where the final will be held.
Yeah, I might see you in Seville towards the end of the season if Napoli make it there. Who knows? It could be a Napoli Sevilla final. But yeah, I think that Napoli are playing before Sevilla. Sevilla kick off at 9 p.m. Spanish time. Napoli are quarter to 7. So I'm sure I'll be able to find somewhere that's showing it before the game and catch it because it's going to be an incredible fixture. And yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And I hope that Napoli do very well for the rest of the season. Just not on Thursday night.
All right, man. Thank you. And as always, guys, smash that like button if you enjoyed the video. Show Alan some love. Follow him on Twitter. Where can they find you on Twitter, Alan?
Yeah, it's at Alan Feehely on Twitter, and then also Football Espana on Twitter too to follow the coverage of Spanish football more generally.
And guys, links will be in the description. So go follow Alan. Great dude and very, very informed about Spanish football and a little bit of PSG, as he says. So yeah, go give Alan some love. And guys, let's have a good game on Thursday and see you soon. Forza Napoli, sempre. See you guys.